In this video, we're going to learn how to plot integers on a number line. So let's read the directions. Plot the negative numbers that correspond to the given situation. Use so this is called a point. So when we plot a point, we draw a symbol that looks like this directly on the number line. We'll see that in a minute, to mark the correct quantity. Also, we want to label all the surrounding tick marks and scale the tick marks appropriately. And we'll talk about what scaling means in just a minute. So let's look at the first example. The temperature in Greenland yesterday was -5 degrees Fahrenheit. So our number line is representing degrees Fahrenheit, specifically in Greenland. So let's see how we can set up this number line. Well, we have 0 marked in the middle. So let's label the surrounding tick marks like we were asked to here. So we've already seen in the positive direction it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the distance or the difference between any two consecutive tick marks is 1. And it's important that you make that distance or the difference the same. Now in the negative direction, we start at 0, then goes -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. And since the temperature we were given is -5 degrees Fahrenheit, this is where we plot our point. So draw a circle-sized dot directly on the number line that corresponds to -5. So it's not enough just to label the -5 here. Plotting the point means putting this point directly on the number line. Let's look at the next part. What does 0 represent in this context? So it's really useful to know what 0 represents when we're talking about contextual situations with negative numbers. So 0 here, we already defined our number line to be measuring degrees Fahrenheit. So 0 represents 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Now let's look at the next question. The altitude of the plane decreased by 600 feet. So if we consider this number line as representing the change in altitude of the plane, and I'm going to put in parentheses feet because that tells us what we're measuring it in, then this represents -60. Now this number line starts off just like the last one did, but notice we have -60, and I certainly don't want to count -60 or write -60 tick marks going all the way to the left. And this is where the idea of scaling the tick marks means. Okay. So we can pick a number, and we want to pick one so that the tick marks will eventually give us -60 exactly on a tick mark. You don't have to do this, but it's just nice to have this be the case. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is to scale by 20s. So if I scaled by 10s, I know from up here this would be -50 and we need to go to -60. But if I scale by 20s, then we'll hit -60. Okay. So there's other ones we could use like 12 and 15, and you can use any appropriate scaling that you want, just like it labeled here, scale appropriately, as long as you get -60 at one of your tick marks. So let's start at 0. Then we're saying that this distance is 20. Now the difference between any two consecutive tick marks needs to be 20. You cannot change it. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, so think about this. If this were a map and they said here you are 20 miles from home and here you are 150 miles from home, well, that wouldn't really give you a good idea because, or it'd be misrepresenting it, because this, what it should be, bigger than this if you were going to go more of a distance. So that's why we scale by the same amount. Now moving in the negative direction, we have -20, -40, -60, -80, and -100. And our point is negative 60 degrees, which is right here. Put our dot right on that point. And lastly, we're asked, what does 0 represent in this context? So here's 0. Let's remember how we define this. It's the change in altitude in feet. So this would represent the airplane's altitude. We could either say not changing or equivalently we can say or changing by 0 feet, which would be not changing at all. Okay. So again, it's a good idea to label your number line, to put right here what the context of the situation is and what the number line represents, and that will also assist you in defining what 0 is.